Starting out this morning at the High Creek Trailhead here just outside of Richmond, Utah. You can hear the creek over there is absolutely raging. I've done this hike 2 or 3 times before, never in the spring or early summer though. It's currently the beginning of June, so it'll be interesting to see how wet the trail actually is. I also don't know how high the snow line has receded. This trail runs from north to south, so it's on north-facing slopes the most of the time. So not quite sure how deep the snow is going to be, or if there's going to be any snow at all. We'll see when we get up there. I could just make it to the lake. I could make it all the way up to Cherry Peak. Who knows? So this could be a 10-mile hike or run. It could be a 20-mile hike / run. We'll see. But anyway, let's get started and see how far we can get. I'm gonna make a bet right now that I am not going to Cherry Peak today. That's not Cherry Peak, but that mountain is at a little bit lower elevation than Cherry Peak, and it's still full of snow on the south-facing slope. So we're probably not getting to Cherry Peak today. Spoiler alert. There used to be a proper bridge here, but evidently that's no longer the case. Must have got washed away. So our next best option is this little trail of rocks and sticks that someone made. So I'm gonna try that and hope I don't fall in. And here's my first problem. So like the river I just crossed, there's also supposed to be a bridge here. Appears to be missing. There's this log, which looks all right, except for that 5-foot, 6-foot section right there where the water's pouring over. So I'm gonna say that's my last resort. I'm gonna go upstream a little bit and see if there's a narrower place, if there's a log across, or if there's a place I can jump across. Because I really don't want to get my feet wet. A little ways upstream, and I think I found an okay crossing spot. Totally out of the water. Be able to grab onto that branch so I get halfway across. Give it a shot. Wish me luck. Starting to run out of options. That last log crossing that I showed was way too slippery, so I gave up on that. Continued a little farther down this side of the river, or creek, and it's not looking much better. So it's either I ford the stream or go straight up the hillside here. I have to think on this one for a second. I made the decision to try the high route here. I cannot find a way through the river there. I'd be happy to wade it or ford it on the way back, but I don't want to do that going up because some of my feet are going to be in socks. Shoes soaking wet the entire run. So just get a little extra elevation gain here. No worries. Well, I've bushwhacked through worse, but this is still not fun here. Could be worse. At least there's leaves on the trees, so it makes them softer. Don't scratch me quite as bad. Still hard going though. Almost to the top. That should be easier. I think I'm in the clear here for a bit. Now the trick is to meet back up with the trail. At least it's pretty up here. That up there is Cherry Peak. It looks quite snowy. So I'm gonna say that's a definite no for climbing that today, considering all I have is trail running shoes. No crampons today. I'm getting closer. The map says I got about 600 feet as the crow flies to get back to the trail. At least I'm on flatter ground now, but it's still pretty slow going here. There's quite a few down trees, which really slow you down. But we should be out of it relatively soon. 5 or 10 minutes. I should be back to the main trail. Fingers crossed. I forgot that the river splits right here, so I'm gonna have to cross it anyway. At least this fork is much narrower and appears to be much more deadfall, so I should have an easier time. Should. We'll see. Well, I just had a major stroke of good luck. The river starts right there. That's the crazy thing about the mountains here. There's just these random springs everywhere. And that's what was feeding the river. That is a huge spring. That's insane. But what that means is I just gotta go up and around this cliff face and I'll be good to go. Fantastic. Well, hallelujah, the trail is found. Doesn't look like it's in very good shape. Probably because no one's been up here all year. But, success. Found the trail. Quite an unexpected detour. Probably only cut 45 minutes into my time here. But back on the trail, carrying on. Finally found a bridge to cross. Day is just getting better and better. This is probably my favorite view in the Bear River Mountains here. It's the north face of Cherry Peak. It's It's a huge cliff face. Obviously still quite covered in snow. No ascent today. Womp womp womp. Still a beautiful sight though. It's also a huge waterfall up on the mountain there. Never seen that before, so I've never hiked this during springtime. But that is quite substantial. You heard it here first. This trail is still pretty much snowed in for the year, I think. I'm probably about 2.5 or 3 weeks too early to make it all the way up to High Creek. There's probably still a good 2 feet of snow on the ground here. It's nice and compact, so there's not a problem with walking on it or anything. It's not really runnable at all, and the going is very slow. So I'm probably gonna have to come back here closer to the end of the month, maybe around the 4th of July, and check it back out. Still very beautiful up here. I've only seen 2 people that have been camping so far. No one else actually on the trail. But we're gonna go up a little farther here behind me, see if it maybe clears out a little bit. The canyon kind of runs north and south, and then it'll turn to run east and west. So I'm thinking maybe the east-west section will be a little bit more cleaned out. I don't know. We'll go up there and take a look. No matter the outcome of this trip, that view is 110% worth it. So gorgeous. There's my nemesis, Cherry Peak. Won't be meeting you today. What I do have to figure out is that I'm at the point in the hike where I have to decide if I continue here or turn back. According to my GPS, it's only about a half mile one way to the lake. I'm at 8,100 feet right now. I need to get up to about 8,500 feet. I need to go across the snowpack here. So far, the snowpack has been pretty hard packed. It's been easy going. There's no avalanche danger. It's pretty much melted out. It's just going to be a little slow. So I think I'm going to go for it. Only a half mile. I've come this far. I'm just under 3 hours into this run. About 7.6 miles. Obviously, that's a terrible pace, but that's about, includes an hour of bushwhacking. So I'm going to go for it here and see if I can get across this slope. Not the first person to cut across the slope here. There's some footprints in front of me, so I'm just following that track. And they seem to be cutting a pretty good line here. The snow is quite hard. It's a little bit soft on top, so my shoes dig in. Very easy going, no problem. knock on wood, this is going to be the final obstacle of the day. The lake is up on top of this ridge here. Not too high. I'm thinking maybe 100 feet vertical elevation here. So I'm thinking I can kind of go straight to those trees and skirt along the edge there and then go over the top where the snow is. That's where the trail goes. So that's what I'm gonna try and do. Pretty darn close now. Almost there. This part here is not easy. Very much just stomping steps up the slope with my shoes here, which is pretty slow going. We're getting there though. Got about 50 more feet up there. I'm at the top. Should be flat from there. Then we should see the lake, which is probably gonna be frozen. Welcome to High Creek. The lake is obviously still in quite the frozen state, although I'd expect nothing less given all the snow that is still around. Oh, it took me about 3.5 hours to get up here, and that's covering about 8.3 miles, but that included the like 2.2 mile detour to those waterfalls. So quite the slog through the snow. That open ridge there, that's the way up to Cherry Peak. The ridge is at 9,000, and you take it over to the right, up to the peak. But I don't know if you can tell, there's a lot of cornices still up on the ridge line there. So definitely will not be doing that today. If I had snowshoes and crampons, easy money. But since I just have my running shoes on, that's not happening. But like I said earlier, it's the view up here that makes it all worth it. You can see way down there, probably 30-40 miles away through the canyon. Back to the car I go, down through High Creek Canyon here. I'm gonna place a bet that it's gonna take me about 2 hours to get back to the car. That's my goal. It took me 3.5 hours to get up here, but that was 45 minutes worth of bushwhacking and then a 2.2 mile detour to see the waterfall. So it should be much faster on the way down. It's gonna be slow going through this snow here. But once I get out of that, I should be cruising. I'll have to contend with the river when I get down there. So that'll be a fun time, but at that point, I'll only be a couple miles from the car. So we should be good to go. Onward. This is one of those, whatever you do, don't look down kind of moments. Quite the steep slope I'm on here. Good thing that it's quite easy to jam my feet into the snow and make steps for myself to walk through. no use standing around, I guess. Just go and get this over with. Be cold and wet, but that's my only option. C'est la vie. Glad that that river crossing is behind me. No pun intended. That was definitely cold. So I'm glad that I did not do it on the way up because I'm, of course, now completely soaked. But it is what it is. Sometimes that's what you gotta do. But yeah, there definitely used to be a bridge here. So it must have got washed out. I haven't been up here in 2 years. So it must have washed out in one of these big spring monsoons here. But oh well, that's done. Now just the final stretch back to the car. That is gonna wrap it up for this hike slash run slash trek. Ended up being just over 14 miles, 5 hours and 20 minutes round trip. But there's of course some caveats with that. On the way there, I had to take a major detour because the bridge was out on one of the stream crossings that I could not jump over. And I was not about to get my feet and shoes completely soaking wet for the next 10 miles. I did end up just crossing the stream on the way back because I was only 2 miles from the car, 4 miles from the car, and it was fine. Nice little refresher. So that added a lot of time. I think that was like a 45-minute detour. I just had a bushwhack. I've done worse, but it still wasn't fun. And then the other thing was those waterfalls you saw at the beginning of the video. That is about 2.2 roughly mile detour, totally worth it. But that added about 2.2 miles and I don't know, maybe 45 minutes to the time. So overall though, excellent hike. High Creek though, I think today is June 4th. I think it's June 4th today. Definitely not melted out yet. I did make it to the top, but it was very slow going, trying to plow through all that snow. But it is doable in just trail running shoes. Didn't actually need snowshoes. Imagine that. All right, that's gonna wrap it up for this one. I'll see you guys out on the trail.